Some of the greatest blessings in your life aren't going to come from what God gives you. They're going to come from what he keeps you from. I know that's not the part we like to shout about. We love the moments when God opens the door. But what if you didn't mess it up? What if the closed door wasn't punishment, but protection? What if that no was the mercy of God showing up disguised as disappointment? I need you to hear me. Closed doors are not curses. They're clarity. That God stepping in saying, no, 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 that's not it. That's not where I'm taking you. But the problem is we get so obsessed with why the door closed that we forget who's holding the key. You thought the rejection was personal. You thought the breakup meant you failed. You thought the lost opportunity was a sign you weren't enough. But maybe, just maybe, God saw what you couldn't. Maybe the very thing you were begging him to open was the thing that would have broken you if you walked through it. Let me bring it closer to home. Think about some of the stuff you cried over, the things you thought you couldn't live without, the job you didn't get, the relationship that fell apart, the opportunity that disappeared, and now looking back, aren't you thankful? You didn't get the job, but God had something better. The relationship ended. Now you can see how toxic it was. That door didn't open because you weren't enough, but because your purpose was never on the other side of it. We have such a limited view. We see the door. God sees what's on the other side. We see the potential. God sees the full picture. But let me be real with you. Clarity doesn't always come immediately. Sometimes God closes the door and you're left standing in the hallway. You don't know why. You don't know what's next. You're praying, asking for answers, and heaven goes quiet. Not because God's ignoring you, not because he's punishing you, but because he's teaching you to trust him without needing all the details up front. That's faith. You believed, you did everything right, and still it didn't work out the way you wanted. And now you're standing there saying, God, did you even hear me? But just because the door didn't open doesn't mean God didn't answer. Sometimes his answer is no. Sometimes his answer is not yet. Imagine if Paul had forced his way into Asia, he would have missed what God actually had planned. So stop crying over doors God shut to reroute you. Stop blaming yourself for divine redirection. God sees what you don't. He knows what's ahead. His ways are higher. His perspective is bigger. We say we trust God, but real trust shows up when you're standing in front of a locked door, no plan B, no backup option, and you still say, God, I don't understand it, but I trust you. And hear me loud, just because a door is closed now doesn't mean it's closed forever. God can reopen it in his timing, or he can open something better, something you couldn't have even imagined, because God doesn't waste anything. Not a no, not a disappointment, not a season of waiting. Every closed door is pointing you somewhere, teaching you something, forming your faith. It's not the end of your story. It's the setup for the next. So when the door doesn't open, don't spiral, don't panic. And whatever you do, don't stop knocking in faith, because God knows which door is yours. And when the time is right, he will open it. No man, no situation, no devil in hell can stop what God has for you. We love praying for open doors. We ask God for the opportunity, the relationship, the promotion, the breakthrough. And that's fine. The Bible says he opens doors no man can shut. But what we don't always realize is sometimes the door is ready, but we're not. Sometimes God isn't holding the door back from you. The right door requires the right you. God's not just preparing the blessing for you, he's preparing you for the blessing. And that's not easy. That takes time, that takes pressure, that takes process. It means God has to stretch you, challenge you, prune you, refine you before he releases you into that next season. We ask God to open doors, but do we ask him to make us ready? We want the platform, but are we prepared to handle the weight that comes with it? We want the relationship, but are we whole enough to bring peace to it? We want influence, but are we rooted enough to not let it go to our head? Because if God gives it to you too soon, you might sabotage it. You might misuse it, or you might start believing you opened the door yourself. And God loves you too much to let your gift kill you where your character can't sustain you. Think about David. He was anointed king when he was just a teenager, but he didn't step into that role overnight. There was a process. There were battles to fight, giants to face, caves to hide in. God had to shake him into the kind of man who could wear the crown and not let the crown corrupt. The same is true for you. God knows what he's placed inside of you, but he also knows what still needs to be burned off of you. He sees the insecurity that would ruin the opportunity, the pride that would poison the platform, the fear that would paralyze you under pressure. So he waits, not to punish you, but to prepare you. We think delay means denial, but sometimes delay means development. The door is coming. Some of us want the destination, but we resist the process. We want to go from the pasture to the palace overnight, but that's not how God works. He doesn't just anoint you, he builds you. He doesn't just anoint you, he prepares you. And preparation isn't always glamorous. Sometimes it looks like being faithful where nobody sees. Sometimes it looks like celebrating others when they get there first. Sometimes it looks like waking up early, staying consistent, doing the hard things, and letting God confront the stuff in you that's been hiding under the surface. Because when the door opens, it's not time to get ready, it's time to walk through it. And if you wait to prepare until the door swings open, you'll miss it, you'll fumble it, you'll walk into it full of fear and doubt because you didn't let God form the foundation he needed to build on. That's why this season matters, even if the door hasn't opened yet, especially if it hasn't. This is the season where God is shaping you, teaching you, stripping away the parts of you that won't survive the next level. It's not punishment, it's preparation. It's not wasted time, it's intentional. Everything you're walking through right now, the lessons, the healing, the disciplines, the tests, they're all making you into the person who will be ready when the door opens. And let me tell you something, when it does open, when that moment comes, you're not going to have force it. You won't have to beg for it. You won't have to pretend to be somebody you're not. Don't try to microwave what God is slow cooking. Let him do what only he can do. Let him build the version of you that can actually carry what you've been begging him for. But let me tell you what won't get you there. Worry. Worry is exhausting, isn't it? It drains your mind, ties your stomach in knots, keeps you up at night staring at the ceiling, running every possible scenario through your head like somehow stressing about it is gonna make a door open faster. But let's be real, when has worry ever opened a door for you? When has worry ever fixed the situation? When has worry ever moved the heart of God? When has worry ever created the opportunity, the relationship, the breakthrough you've been waiting for? Never. Worry never built a bridge. Worry never healed a heart. Worry never opened that job, that opportunity, that season you're praying for. But we still treat worry like it's a strategy. We treat it like it's the key. Like if we stress about it hard enough, maybe the situation will magically change. But Jesus made it clear, Matthew chapter 6, verse 27. He said, can any one of you by worrying add a single hour to your life? No, not one. But your faith, that's a different story. Your faith has power. Your faith moves heavens. So why do we keep defaulting to worry? Because it feels like control. Worry gives us this illusion, like if I overthink this enough, maybe I can fix it. Worry is rooted in fear. Faith is rooted in truth. And the truth is this: if God has promised you something, no amount of worry can speed it up, and no amount of fear can cancel it. But your faith postures you to receive it. Don't get it twisted. Faith doesn't manipulate God, but faith pleases him. Hebrews 11:6 says, without faith, it is impossible to please God. That's not because God is demanding perfection from you. It's because faith is the evidence that you trust his heart, even when you can't trace his hand. And that kind of faith, it opens doors. Not because you earned it, not because you got it all figured out, but because faith keeps you available. Faith keeps you in position. Worry locks you in fear. It paralyzes your purpose. It keeps you pacing in front of closed doors. But faith says, God, I don't even see the door yet, but I believe it's going to open when the time is right. And sometimes, hear me, sometimes, faith means praising God in front of a locked door. Sometimes it looks like walking around Jericho even when the walls haven't budged. Sometimes it means building the ark while the sky is still clear. That's faith. Faith that looks ridiculous to the world. Faith that feels uncomfortable in your flesh. But that kind of faith that opens heaven. That faith that opens doors. You've been pacing in front of a door that won't open, and worry has been writing your story. You've been stuck in the what if cycle. What if it never happens? What if I miss my moment? Worry leads to striving, but faith leads to surrender. Worry makes you frantic. Faith makes you focused. Worry tries to control everything. Faith says, God, I release it to you. Faith says, God, I release it to you. Here's what I know. When you're living in worry, you're constantly reacting. Every phone call, every email, every delay, every closed door, you're spinning, you're panicking, you're overthinking. But when you're walking in faith, you're responding to God's voice instead of reacting to your fear. You move different, you wait different, you speak different, because when you believe God is the one who opened doors, you stop panicking about which one will open. You stop comparing your door to someone else's. You stop trying to pry things open with your own strength. You start to realize if it's your door, it'll open when you're ready, not when you're worried. You don't have to manipulate it. You don't have to chase it. You just have to trust for it. And listen, don't confuse waiting in faith with doing nothing. Faith isn't passive. Faith isn't lazy. Faith prepares. Faith plants seeds in the unseen. Faith shows up with expectancy even when nothing looks different yet. Because even if you don't know when it's going to happen, you know who holds the key. So let me tell somebody today, stop letting worry rob your peace. Stop letting fear paralyze your purpose. That door isn't locked because God is punishing you. It's not stuck because you're unworthy. It's being held until the moment that's right. Not just right in time, right in you. And until then, your job isn't to worry your way into it. Your job is to walk by faith. Because at the end of the day, your worry won't open the door, but your faith just might. We're so obsessed with the next door, the next opportunity, the next season, the next breakthrough. And there's nothing wrong with vision. There's nothing wrong with desiring more. But what if I told you the door you're standing in right now, the one you didn't choose, the one you don't even like, the one you've been begging God to open a new one from, that door has a purpose too. Every door has a purpose. Even the small ones, even the slow ones, even the ones that feel like a setback or a waiting room, even the ones that frustrate you. There's something God is doing right here, something he's teaching, something he's revealing, something he's developing, because God doesn't waste space, God doesn't waste seasons, and God certainly doesn't waste doors. You might be saying, God, I'm ready for the next thing. But maybe God's saying, I'm still doing something in this thing. And if you skip the process of this door, you won't be ready for the next one. Think about Moses, 40 years in the wilderness. He went from Egypt to obscurity before God ever opened the door for him to lead. That season felt like delay, but it was development. It was in the wilderness that God stripped his pride, shaped his confidence, built his character. Think about Joseph. Door after door that looked like defeat, Saul by his brothers thrown into a pit, thrownly in prison, but every single door was part of the divine setup. Because if Joseph didn't walk through the prison door, he would have never made it to the palace. And when he got to the palace, he wasn't bitter. He was ready. What if it's not just delay? It's development. The job you don't love, maybe God's testing your work ethic and integrity. The relationship season you're frustrated with, maybe God's developing your emotional maturity. Don't despise this door just because it doesn't look like what you pictured. God is too intentional to place you somewhere without purpose. You might not understand it now, but one day you'll look back and realize, I needed that door. That frustration refined me. That no redirected me. That season, the one I thought was wasting my time, was actually saving my life. And if you keep rushing to the next, you'll miss the beauty of the now. There's fruit in this room. There's strength being built in this space. There's grace for this place, but you've got to be willing to see it. You've got to be willing to stay present even while you're praying for progress.